Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Scale Riders podcast episode. I am your host, 65 Lokes, and this is episode number 257. I am here with my guest all the way from the UK, kit builder Chris. What's up, Chris? How you doing?
Good morning, Edgar, or good evening. How you doing? All right.
Yeah. Nah, man. Good morning to you. And it's a trip, man. I want to tell you thank you for, for doing this episode. I know it's early over on your side. And, when I knew we were getting close to tonight, on my end, I was very excited. But at the same time, I was going, man, it must be different doing an early podcast episode over on your end, you know?
It's all good. It's worth it. I'll pay for it later tonight.
Yeah, man. Not right on. So, before we started the recording, you mentioned, it's already been quite like a long time, like a couple years since the last time you were on the podcast.
Yeah. So on the way to the local model club Monday night, I was talking with a friend, and I was saying about this today's episode, and I mentioned the one we had before, and he didn't realise. So when I looked back for it, and I found the episode to share with him, it said streamed 2 years ago, and that's gone really quick. And that wasn't too long after I'd started airbrushing, because it was the pink S13 Sylvia on the front cover.
Man, that's crazy. Yeah, it's such a trip how fast like time passed, you know. I still remember, when we connected on Instagram and stuff and just seeing like all your builds and the progression and like the things that you did with Aoshima. Being one of the what was the it was like a year long like a sponsorship, right?
Yeah, it was an ambassador program. It was amazing. It was an amazing experience. A lot of people asked how did I get onto it, and it was literally a post Aoshima would put on to their Instagram social page, and it said there was like looking for some ambassadors. Just comment whereabouts in the world you are, and I thought, yeah, I love the kit, so I just put where I was, completely forgot about it. And then a few weeks later, I woke up one morning for work and I've got all these messages on my phone saying, "Oh, nice one, congratulations." I remember there was one from Bill at Snacks, and he was like, "Oh man, this is amazing," because he was on it as well. And there was Blake, a builder from Canada, and obviously Cam, Kiwi Cam, down in New Zealand. And yeah, it was amazing. It was a hell of an experience, really cool. And like you said, it was like a year long um, program as such. And quite often, it was really good with us, all four of us. It was really good. Kept sending out kits. And yeah, we've got to not only choose a kit to promote, but we've got a kit for ourselves as well at the same sort of time. So yeah, it was really, really good experience. Really good. And it was amazing, yeah, because I love, a lot of they do a lot of tuner version sort of kits, like Skylines and things like that. So yeah, it was really sort of, for me, it was amazing, yeah.
Yeah, it was nice to see because it was cool to see like everyone collectively that they selected to be, part of the ambassador program. And I feel like it definitely did reach a lot of people. Because as time went on, more people were asking questions like how can you get on it? More people wanted to jump on it, but I felt like, each one of you guys was doing your own thing. I know like for you, it stood out a lot of the stuff that you were doing with your builds. And I really liked, from a previous episode when you were on, I had asked you regarding like the build, and I really like how you said, you like to build it how it would be like building it out of box, like for somebody that was like an introduction getting into it, as to,
Yeah.
you could do it this way, and obviously, they could do their flip, they could switch it up, but I thought that was pretty cool, especially I think I'm pretty sure Aoshima admired that a lot too. Being able to build that kit right out of the box.
Yeah, yeah. That's one thing I like to do with a lot of kits, especially if I'm building that kit for the first time. I'll try and keep it out of the box just so I can familiarize myself with it, but then also show others, this is how you can have a bit of fun with it, sort of thing. Don't feel off put or scared. It's just take your time. And so I'll always try and show an out of the box build first off, for sure.
Man, that's cool. And as far as like the kits, you're very versatile. There's a lot of different styles and a lot of different genres of builds that you get into. You have done a lot of the JDM style builds. You have
Yeah,
done also some, American style cars too. As far as you know, other genres, like what else is out there that gets your attention or something that's getting you excited to want to build as far as like something to be building later this year in 2025?
so my main sort of go-to is the JDM stuff. And since last year, since the Pink Impala that I built with collaboration with yourself, I'm really enjoying old American classics. So like this, I've actually got it in front of me, the Pink Impala, and this was my first lowrider build. Um, I like to be honest, and I do that in a lot of my videos. I point out a lot of my mistakes, and I made a few mistakes with this. But regardless, I've made mistakes. I still made it, and I feel that it looks great for me. I'm really happy with it, and I've got to say the wheels that you sent for it just really set it off perfectly. And I've had quite a few comments from from work or wherever. They'll say like such a bold color to choose, but it just works. I'm that body.
Yeah, dude, that's a beautiful build right there that you did. It's a trip because, it almost felt somewhat of a like a challenge or like a test to see, doing a lowrider. And I feel like that car, if that car would make its way to, let's say, to California and it was on a table, I don't
Yeah,
I think a lot of people would be thinking like, man, who built that? Like someone local, from California built that car. Just the way it flows, the way it looks, even the clear, the way it's laid out, it's nice and shiny, and the wheels, everything, just the stance overall. It looks really nice. Something you would definitely even see like on the street as well on a one-on-one scale.
yeah. That's what I try and incorporate as well. Is I take a lot of inspiration from real life. Like for example, when I'm seeing posts or whatever, from yourself, or from other builders, or it's even like Armando's page. Like I can see videos on his stories and things like that. It's or when you've been watching films or you see like American either car shows or car car meets and things like that on YouTube, for example. So I'm always looking here and there and just picking up ideas and inspiration. How would that sort of work? And that's what I try and put into some of the builds as well. It's like, yeah, I like how that look, or this is how I'd imagine it to look. Um, yeah, I've watched a lot of car programs as well. Over the years. Obviously, back in the day, it was a bit of Pimp My Ride was like the original sort of car show, wasn't it? But way back when. But I've grown up a little bit, watched things, um, a lot of car restoration shows, and a lot of them seem to be American. So I'm always seeing inspiration. Like recently, I've been watching this one called Graveyard Cars, where they restore Mopar. So you got your Challengers, your Cudas, and Chargers, but they're all as they would be from the factory, and it's just like watching those. It's like amazing because it gets like the creative juices flowing in your head, and you start thinking of what kit can I find and what colors can I get, sort of to try and And it's all about inspiration. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like, all this time now that you've been doing it, has it gotten easier to get a hold of the items that you need to finish a build? I'm referencing, let's just say, like everything from across the board, from kits to paints to the tools and overall, like, the things that you see on Instagram and Facebook, that others are using. Is it now like easier to find this stuff in your area?
Um, to be honest, I do a lot of my if I do any shopping, it's always online. There's a shop I think quite commonly known in Japan, the Plaza Japan. Once in a blue moon, I'll go there, and, because it's quite cheap. Just your little resources, like your cotton swabs and tools and things like that. Obviously, from yourself, I've had quite a few tools. Those three-peak snippers are just amazing. And obviously, that Tamiya diamond file that was sent with this Civic. That is so good. When I've been working on the Edward Photo X seatbelts, you've got your little connector points, and you grab hold of that seatbelt on your tweezers, and that diamond file just makes such light work of it. Um, but locally, if you were to walk into an actual brick and mortar store shop, there's not many about, and yeah, it's. I think a lot of it's more sort of. I mean, my local shop is more geared towards sort of trains. They do have model kits and resources, but not so much for say like airbrushing. So there's not really. I mean, you've got Tamiya paint pots, the acrylics, but they don't have lacquers, and I like using the Tamiya lacquer pots, or say Mr. Colour, their lacquer paints mixed with like leveling thinners, because I just think through an airbrush they lay really nicely. So yeah, a lot of my shopping's online, and when you're shopping online, I think everything's quite accessible. Sometimes you may have to pay a little bit of shipping to get it from maybe another country, but getting hold of things, it's I think it's we live in a day and age where it's fairly accessible and easy enough. It's just what sort of price tag does it come with for postage and whatnot?
Yeah, no, yeah. Plaza Japan, that's always a dope source. I remember back then that was one of the places I was getting a lot of the early on stuff. Especially, like traveling out, with Armando and the guys to Japan, coming back, I was very like, let me go online and like look to see where I could find more of these like products, and it would always land me there, and I would pick up stuff. I wasn't really picking up kits or anything. It was more of the tools, but I would see,
Yeah,
a lot of the stuff they had cataloged. I was like, damn, they have an extensive catalog. And just like over time, from seeing the actual the hobby brick and mortar stores, but then also the presence online, also like Hobby Search, another one from Japan, I was just like, man, like these online stores are very inspiring, you know. They've been around for a long time, and they provide a lot of stuff that people need, especially stuff you
yeah,
can't find like in your local area. So it was like, for me, I almost feel like, man, some friends tell me like they can't get this, they can't get that. Once in a while, I'll hear that out here in the States, and sometimes I get kind of surprised because I'm like, dude, like you could, like I could understand in your town or like down the street, like, there's probably no stores or anything like that. Uh, but you can order it online, and I don't know. I just think some people just find it quick, and others, they take their time. But that's kind of the backbone inspiration of just of the online store, like the one that I'm operating, just to like be able to be an option, like to have some stuff in case if, people are needing something there. And with you're building and you don't stop, man. You just keep going. And every paint job, everything you're doing, it just keeps looking amazing, and you keep leveling up every time in details. And I'm just like, damn, that's dope. I'm happy that you have like all the stuff, and you just keep it going, you know. Um, you're always ahead, like with what you're doing, you know. I don't think I've ever seen you be like, hey guys, I'm taking a break. I'm gonna step away for 6 months or something, you know.
I enjoy it too much. I enjoy it far too much to do that. I might have maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks break from time to time, but yeah, I've never really been much more than that because again, I just it's just a really nice hobby. It's and it's just a nice escape, and I can just go and spend some time in the hobby room and just build a kit, sort of, get it painted and whatnot. It's there's a lot of fun to be had with a kit. And, it's one thing I say to a lot of people: a hobby should be fun, because obviously the real world is a bit of a mess at times, or most of the time. So a hobby should be fun. It should be kept fun, and it's just, it's just enjoying it. But, if it starts getting a bit stressed or you're not enjoying it, for example, if something going wrong with a build, maybe leave it for the day, come back to it the next day or two. But just try and keep it fun. And I think that's why I'm enjoying it so much. It's just because I'm trying to keep it fun. And I stopped aiming for perfection a few years ago because when I was aiming for perfection and I couldn't reach that, and I was getting, annoyed with myself, and I was getting vexed, and you can just see it. The results in the builds weren't as good as they could have been because you've stressed and pressured yourself. But once you put those to one side and just focus on having that fun and just enjoy the build. What happens happens. like each one of my builds, I can point out imperfections on the paintwork or part of the build or something that's gone wrong. But regardless of these imperfections, I still enjoy them and I'm still really happy with them. And it doesn't stop me because I'm into that mindset of it's just fun. And it is what it is. If you drop a bit of glue, you might quickly swear, but after 10 minutes, it's just what it is. So yeah, I enjoy it too much to take a big 6 month hiatus for sure.
That's funny. I was all imagining you like swearing when you said that right now. That's funny. Yeah, man, it's cool because with the build like the recent one you're building right now, it's a Civic, the EF9. You're doing the details and the interior. It also has like the P set. Was there anything in that build that you found challenging?
Challenge. Do you know what actually was the interior tub? But the only challenging thing was it was I don't know. I've actually got it here, but I've added some Top Studio wires, the braided hoses from yourself, the Top Studio ones. So what I wanted to do is add some detail to the kit instead of trying to paint the molded in plastic lines in the interior tub. I wanted to use the braided hose to sit on top to add that extra level of depth. But for me, I've still found myself quite a beginner at trying to add details and trying to get the hoses to bend at such tight angles at such a small scale. That's what I struggled with. And you put a bit of glue down, a bit of super glue, but then when you try and move it, it pops off. So you'd have to put a bit more super glue down. And we all know once we get too much super glue, you start to get a little bit of a white haze, a bit of a white haze around the product. But I mean, from a distance, you can't really see it. But I don't know how well you can see sort of in the connectors there. If you look closely, they're not actually connected, so they're not joined as such. There we are. Like I say, I was. It's just me personally. I was struggling to get them to bend and stay without popping off or breaking away from the glue. Um, but yeah, bang in the middle there, there's like a bit of a U bend in one of the small pipes, and just around that area, there's unfortunately quite a bit because when I was trying to bend it, it just kept moving off, and I tried to put a bit more glue down, and it just got a little bit of haze, but I didn't let it bother me. I was like, once the body shell's on, the windows are on, you're not really going to see too much. Um, and I also like the red the red canister in the photo etch set. It comes with photo etch straps. Um, I've rolled them into a circle, and as I've tried to put them over the canister, there was too short. It wasn't quite long enough to get fully right. But as I'm trying to fit it on, because the photo etch is so sharp, it's just scraped some of the paint off. And I kind of shrugged my shoulders, brushed a little bit of paint on, and stuck it in because again, you're not really going to see it. So I didn't really let it bother me. So it's just little things like that. But I don't think it's the kit. It's more apart from the photo etch straps not being big enough. It's and the imperfections. I think is mostly my fault. But again, it's learning. It's learning. Every day's a learning day.
Yeah, that EF9 kit, I had built that one a while back when I did the one with the Scale Riders livery through the side
Yes.
panels in the back. The one thing I regret from that build that maybe I'll go back and I'll revisit that build is when I had painted the black in the windows, right? I did it from the inside, just all around like the trim. But the one
Yeah.
thing I was having a conversation with Casey about this is I should have gotten a marker and just colored in the edges, the bottom part of the glass as well. Because
Oh
you know
yeah.
how like when you glue those windows, you're gonna be gluing them from the outside onto the body.
Yes. Yeah.
So the whole body is black. The trim on the inside is black, but then like I put a little bit of white glue and it dried transparent. But like if myself, like I stare at it at an angle and I could see. like that in between that I'm like, man, that should have been black. I shouldn't be able to see that, you know? And I'm,
Yeah,
oh man. So I don't know, just kind of like that for me, that's just one of the things. But other than that, like I've taken it to shows and stuff, and I don't know, you can't really tell. But it's just something more I notice when I'm in my room, or like in my space
yeah.
by myself, and I'm like, oh man, like dang. But I don't know. Maybe somehow, maybe one day those windows will fall out, and I'll have the chance to fix them and then glue them back on.
And that's the thing, as builders, we're the ones in such an intimate proximity to these builds. We're putting it together. We know where all the issues are, and we are our own worst enemies. We are our own worst critics. But like for example, you and your Civic with the window and the glue, I bet 99.9% of people didn't even notice. It's only we that can see them that have built them. That's why, I don't really let it bother me too much because if an untrained eye comes around and are they going to notice it? But yeah, I know what you mean. It does plan your mind a little bit, certain bits, and it's like, I could have done that better. But in the grand scheme of things, it's will anyone else notice? Will anybody else notice? It's our worst enemies, aren't we, as builders?
No, definitely. And as far as like this year, we're already, in the seventh month out of the year. Was there any shows at the beginning of this year that you attended, or because I wasn't, from what I could remember right now, I don't know what was happening as far as like model related shows out there, or are the shows coming up later this year?
So there's shows pretty much all year round. I haven't visited any. I haven't visited any yet this year. My first shows is norm for me. The first shows I visit tend to be in September, October, November. Um, for example, in September last year, I went to a new show, which was, excuse me if I pronounce it wrong, to people from there, is a place called Keighley, and that's actually Crow Customs Lee. That's his closest show. So I met up with him there. It's not the first time I met him though. I've been fortunate enough to meet him a couple of times before over the last few years at the big model show in November. But yeah, so Keithley was his local model show, and there's always amazing builds on his table because Lee actually runs the Hot Rod and Custom Special Interest Group. He's got a Facebook page, and like I say, he runs that group and visits lots of shows. Fortunately enough, we've managed to get him booked in at the local Lincoln show, which is my local show. I'm part of the IPMS Lincoln Club, and we host a show every October. This year it's October the 12th. Um, a cheeky plug, but yeah, it's we've had to move to a new, bigger premises, because the last few years we've had to like reject clubs and or traders because we didn't have the space. For a little show, we do really well, and like I say, everyone's really excited for this year because we're at a bigger ground. And yeah, it's a good day out. You've got everything, from cars, tanks, planes, sci-fi. Like you'll see a lot of Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica, and there's plenty of traders. Competition area. It's really cheap, and it's a great day out, and there's a great food wagon there as well. And yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, that's the Lincoln show, October the 12th. Like I said, a new ground. So if anyone can make it, it's well worth a day out. So yeah, I'd like to visit more shows if I could. But like I say, it's normally towards the end of the year. Once first half of the year tend to be a lot of family stuff or whatever else, and I like to save, you know, build up a bit of pot of money, because we all like to spend at these shows, spend a lot at these shows. So yeah, it's a bit of a saving game for me for sure.
Yeah, no, that's cool, man. That must be exciting, attending your show and then, obviously it's always cool to see the vendors, support, pick up some stuff and see what they have, especially if it's something rare or something you've been wanting for a long time, and it's finally there, just waiting for you.
Yeah, I mean, you don't often get that many car kits, unfortunately, and that's the culture of the hobby scene in the UK. It's the cars aren't as popular as what they could be. or should be, should I say maybe. The UK is steeped in a lot of, armor and planes, like your tanks. It's a very historic sort of a scene, and it's like I get so envious of watching you guys in the America in America going to all these car only sort of model shows, or if it's a joint sort of tanks, planes, cars show, the level of cars, the volume of cars, it's just amazing. You don't really get to see that many cars at many shows, apart from maybe the big UK show, Scale Model World in November. You get quite a lot of cars there, but other shows you don't, unfortunately, don't see as many. Yeah, it is a bit of a shame. So again, you don't often see too many car kits. It's more, tanks and everything else. So yeah, it's definitely heavy towards non-car builders.
Right on. Real quick, I wanted to give out some shout outs to some of the homies, the guests that are here on the chat room, on the live stream. So shout outs to Model Car 1589, Slowly Models, Armando Flores, Eddie. We also got Eddie and Skill Model Cars and Vision 124. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys got any questions, drop them on here and I'll let Chris know. And yeah, and also shout outs to Lee too. Pro Customs. I trip out because he's out there in the UK. You've met him, and he's been out here in California, and I've also met him in person. You know, it's kind of a trip how we're all connected through model building. Something that we're very
Yeah,
passionate about. But then again, it's like you know something like that brought him out here, And I'm pretty sure in the future too, man. It wouldn't surprise me if one day you and Lee, end up flying out together out here to California to attend the show. He'll show you like the
that
ropes.
would be cool.
Like, don't worry, man. We'll be good. We check out this stuff,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and this way you don't gotta like fly solo or anything like that. I think that'd be pretty dope.
yeah, it would be cool. And that's a great thing about this hobby. For me, through Instagram, I've been able to connect with so many people around the world, and it's been amazing. It's more than plastic. Again, Bill Snacks. It's building friendships. He's quite passionate, and he says it quite often. And it's been a great sort of connection tool as such between builders across the world to be able to have Instagram, and the community is huge, but also really friendly. Everyone's super cool. Everyone gets on. Everyone builds their own thing, but everyone's got helpful and shares enthusiasm, tips, ideas. And it's to be able to connect, like from the UK, for example, for you from the States, or it's people from South America, Europe, in Japan, and it's an awesome sort of being able to connect with everyone around the world, and we all speak the same language. It's cool.
Man, that's dope. Yeah, shout out to Snacks. I trip out because, he goes hard in whatever he gets in, he has the artistry in him. He wants to, discover new things, figure them out, problem solving. And, like it wasn't so long that he got into like the RC stuff. And look at him now. He's like
It's just
he figured it out and he's so in there like if he'd been doing that for years. And I and I
yeah,
and I wanted to bring up that the cool thing too though is that he's still it's not like he's stepping away from model building because he's still like I know he had sent you a Supra that you guys are gonna do like
yes,
a
yeah.
buddy build. So that's pretty dope. He's like that's his way of like, collabing with you, like let's do this together. You do yours, I do mine, and bringing him back into the fold with model building.
Yeah, it's whatever he touches. It's just got he's got Midas touch, hasn't he? I mean, he built his first Gundam, and it's just like that was no way his first. It looks like he's been doing it for hundreds of them. He's very, and it's guys like him. You take inspiration from, and you don't try and copy. You just take the inspiration from because they're so good, and it's amazing to again. It's like most people. This super cool and they're happy to help you. And Bill's always got time for everyone, always.
When you crack open like a new kit, you know, you're just done with one and you're getting ready to start off on the next one. What's like the your favorite part, you know, starting off on a brand new kit?
Painting the body. Yeah. So with any kit, when I open it up, I separate it into three groups. I get all the body work, I get all the interior, and I get all the chassis. And I get them into their own groups. And it's always the body work first. So it's the body shell, the bumpers, the wing mirrors, anything that needs to be that colour body, anything that needs to be 2K'd, I'll work on that first. And that for me is my favourite part because that's where your imagination starts to come alive because that's the biggest part of a build is the body shell because that's the first thing you see. If you're walking past it and it's on a table, the first thing you see is the body. So yeah, that's my most enjoyable bit. Maybe not the wet sand and polishing because that takes about anywhere from 6 hours to 12 hours, but it's worth it. But yeah, it's the painting the body is my favorite part. Absolutely.
Man, that's awesome. You know, I was talking with Casey and I was mentioning to him that I was watching this guy's YouTube channel and I don't think he's posted a video in a while. I can't remember right now the name of the channel, but I'm gonna link you though to his channel. And he was working on a Civic, like a EK9. He did a wide body on this Civic, and just from watching it, I wanted to see what was his process, right? Because it was more of like somewhat of a tutorial, like he's breaking it down. And I think he was also like a Japanese artist. So from what I noticed is he used putty, you know, he did all the body work, and then once it was all sanded and ready, he primered it with Mr. Hobby. He used a rattle can. It was, I believe, the 1000. And then right after that, um, later in the video, he ends up just laying down a base color on the car, right? Once the base color was laid down, he just next scene is just like he just clears the car, you know. I mean, I'm sure there was like flashing and everything. Maybe like the next day or so it got painted because it's all edited on the thing. But then from there, once the whole body was like done and clear coated, he just started, you know, doing like some work like the rear tail lights. He got a silver marker. He started filling in the shell, the certain details on the front headlights and everything. And I was going like, man, he's kind of doing another approach because I never really go that route the way he was doing it. And then he pretty much just like started drilling in the holes for the rivets and slapped the whole car together, you know, later. And then he started adding the decals after. And then I was like, wait a minute. Like, I don't think I've ever done it like that. I've always like, you know, done the paint job, decals, and then clear over the decal with the paint job. So it's all blended in and like in there,
Yeah,
you know. I've never done it in reverse, right? So you don't see like the outline of the decal. But that was kind of the
yeah,
conversation I was having with Casey. I was going like, okay, let's say, you know, like it's like a car you buy from the dealership, and now you obtain your like the stickers, you know, and you just
yeah,
like you slap them on the doors, you race the car, you drive it around. Eventually you rip the sticker out or it's weathered or whatever. And I was thinking to Casey, I was going, man, I never thought about doing it that way. You know, it just made me think because I feel like I would have probably done it the other way that I usually do it is put the decal, clear it. And I'm thinking like, well, you know, let's say in real life, you know, the factory wouldn't have these cars, you know, already with the decals and then they clear coat over everything that'll never come off, you know? So
yeah.
I don't know, have you ever done anything like that with any past builds?
Yeah, a long time ago when I was sort of like learning the ropes back in the early days of, the hobby for me, I say early days, it was, 6.5 years ago. But when I used to use spray cans, I've laid the clear coat and then put the water slides on afterwards. But these days I do like to put the water slides on before the 2K. But because like you say, you get that smooth sort of transition between decal and body paintwork as such. But yeah, I think most, most cars, like you say, a lot of the stickers and the logos are all just slapped on after the paintwork, so they might not have such as a glossy appearance. Um, and with the Civic that I'm currently working on at the minute, I didn't go for a high glossy 2K finish. I went for semi-gloss. I don't know how well you can see it on the video. It's got a little bit of a sheen, but it's not a glossy sheen. And I think that's the sort of thing you might get a race car. Um, Not that I'm trying to aim for an absolute perfect sort of race car finish. Plus, it's I was a bit scared of doing the 2K because I know I'd have had to wet sand and polish it up, and I was a bit scared of burning through because I didn't want to burn through, sand the decals, and ruin them because it might be a hard kit to find replacement decals for. So I just thought not only does a semi-gloss make it a safer option, but I also think maybe a more realistic option, maybe with it such a coverage in the again the race livery as such. It's for me it's a different as well. It's nice to have a bit of difference every time, from time to time. And obviously I'm constantly throwing out glossy paint jobs, so I find it a bit weird that I've done a not so glossy, but quite enjoying it at the same time.
Yeah, doing the semi-gloss, that process, is it pretty forgiving, like as you're spraying it and you're visually looking at it? Because with 2K clear or going with like a high gloss, it's a lot. I feel like it's easier visually to see, okay, I need to add more clear because you don't want to have like orange peel or anything like that.
Yeah.
But when it's like semi-gloss, because I've never applied semi-gloss myself, I wonder if it's forgiving, if maybe you could keep, even if you like hit it with a lot of coats, if it's still gonna be looking semi-gloss at the end.
I think that was two coats, but I was using Mr. Hobby Super Clear Semi mixed. I think it's about 50-50, maybe 40 paint, 60 thinners with leveling thinners. Obviously, when you're applying it, it does look wet, and it could be quite sort of daunting to say, is it going to dry semi? Is it going to stay wet? But over a period of hours, it does start to dry down, and you really start to see that sort of that semi-gloss sort of almost satin sort of sheen. So yeah, at first you don't quite see it at first. It's very much a waiting game. But yeah, I find with the Mr. Colour ranges of clear coats like the super clear gloss, sorry, or the semi, or the flats, mixed with leveling thinners, um, it just seems to work. And like I say, two coats, and it's I don't know how well it's all popping off now, but it's settled settled quite nicely. So yeah, it's maybe not be perfect, but I'm happy with the appearance.
Yeah, no, that came out nice, man. It looks really good. And that was all airbrushed, the clear that you applied
Yes,
on there. Okay.
yeah,
Um, and
yeah.
and as far as like the clears, are you enjoying using more the Mr. Hobby for a source, or are you switching it up with other brands as well, depending on the build?
So for the bodywork, when I 2K, it's always the same supplier for 2K. Is that's my I've got a paint sponsor here in the UK, so I get all my 2K and all the body colours from him. But when I'm using maybe like on the wheels or the interior or anything else, I will use Mr. Hobby clear. Anything that's not bodywork that doesn't need body color and 2K, I'll always use that. I've got a range of Mr. Color paints and a range of Tamiya lacquer paints, and they're all pre-mixed with leveling thinners. I just find they just work really nicely for me. How I work, how it uses for me, it seems to work really well for me.
All right, now, man. Hey, I wanted to shout out builds by George Juarez. Thanks, man. Thank you for that. On the comments on the super chat right there. What's up, man? Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, with the Mr. Hobby, I've been slowly, just bringing in the wide range of the primers in rattle can, and also like the super clear, the UV cut, the gloss. But I'm
Yeah,
gonna be bringing in some of the flat and some of the like the semi, and I just want to keep extending because I know they have a lot of great products from there. And I'm also
yeah,
gonna start diving into some of their paints as well. Um,
yeah,
the leveling thinners and the thinners and all that too. I do have some of that stuff. I'm in here. Back then, when I was buying like the Mr. Hobby stuff, it was primarily because when I was like building a lot of Gundam kits, and I was just kind of more like, trying to learn that world, with building and using more of the colors that were being used a lot from other artists from there. But then now, from building model cars, I'm starting to see, even a lot of people using now, or even the acrylics for like weathering and detail parts and things like that. And I'm like, man, it's just very interesting to be able to see all the different brands and things that people like to switch it up, with what they're doing.
oh yeah. There's so many paint brands, and there's something for everyone. And not everyone can use the more toxic solvent paints as such. They might have to use water-based. So again, there's loads of water-based. Even Mr. Colour, they have the Aqueous range, which is obviously all the water-based acrylics and stuff. And there's a lot of, uh, for example, like Warhammer miniature game painting. Like you've got your Citadels, which is the most common one, I think, and then you've got companies like Army Painter. So again, they're all your water-based acrylics. So yeah, we're living a day and age where there's literally something for everyone and for everyone's needs, because not everyone has a hobby room, not everyone has a paint extractor, such. They may have to spray out in the garden. They may have to use paint cans. So again, like Mr. Hobby paint cans, those surfaces and the UV cut super clears. It's great that we can live in an age where there's so much for everyone and their needs for sure.
Yeah, that brand that you mentioned, Army Painter, is that a brand from the UK, or because I've
I
seen
think
it.
so.
My distributor carries their products, and I've been tempted to bring some of that stuff because they do have a line of tools as well. They have a bunch of tools, a bunch of stuff, but I haven't really looked into it like to know where it's being, where it's coming from or what. But
Yeah.
they do have some tools that do catch my attention though, and I'm just like, man, like I'm a little tempted, to, to bring in some of that stuff. Have
I,
you
I,
have you ever used any of their tools before?
Not Army Painter, no, no. The Citadel, the Warhammer sort of paints. I use those for the interior detailing. So all the dashboards, knobs and buttons. Because it's a water-based acrylic, it dries nicely. It dries to a nice finish. And if you make a mistake, you could just get like a little toothpick and just clean it up and correct it. So that's what I use for brush painting, little details on the interior, is the Citadel stuff. But yeah, I've never used Army Painter, but yeah, I've seen other people use them to great effect.
Yeah. I wanted to know, would you ever consider in the future building like a weathered vehicle? Not 2K gloss, nothing like that. Just, you know, this is coming from, just like the kind of stuff that like Casey does.
Yeah.
Even like Cam, Kiwi Hobbies, he does a lot of weathering. Like, is that something you'd probably want to try, or ever curious about doing in the future, like a weathered build?
Always curious. Absolutely. I love seeing the others when they can do them, like like Casey and Cam, and you've got Scuffy scale models. He loves building rusted, weathered sort of beetles and whatever else, and it's just what they can do is amazing. For example, Mark, who runs Scuffy scale models, he put he had a product, and I think it was some sort of metal product over a Volkswagen Beetle body shell, and left it in his garden for 10 months. And it came and looked so rusty. It looked an actual rusty metal body shell. It's just things like that. I would like to try them, but not only do I get put off by looking at everyone else's, I just struggle to come away from the gloss. I just enjoy that glossy shine. But yeah, what people can do with like Casey and his weathering pencils, and Cameron is weathering. I always remember seeing Cameron's. He's got that big sort of scrapyard diorama, and he's got all these junk cars in there, and it's just amazing what people can do. It is. It's phenomenal. I would like to try it one day, but I don't think I'm ready yet.
Yeah, no, yeah. That's the one thing that's like I've really never, gone hard like, oh, I'm gonna try this. I'm curious too, but I feel like I need to kind of get into that world with or getting my feet wet by building like some kind of mech like figure or a gun number or just something that's a little bit more, with metal looking, more industrial looking, just to learn and just
Yeah,
freestyle it from there. Just so this way, when the time comes that, all right, I kind of want to step into this world now and try my own take also on weathering, you know?
yeah, yeah. There's a lot. I think there's a lot out there to sort of like play with as such. Like you mentioned Gundam, you can get Gundam kits so cheap, and they go together so quickly. You can really focus on the weathering side of things. You could get, for example, a 10, 15 pound kit. You could quickly put it together in half an hour, maybe an hour, but then you can spend all the time practicing the chipping with the pencils or some weathering products and weathering effects. Yeah, there's definitely resources out there for beginner. Absolutely, it's just yeah, I want to try it, but I'm not quite ready. If you know what I mean. But
Yeah. And another thing too, like back then when we had done the podcast, like the first time when you were a guest, I remember you telling me, how long you'd been doing model building back then. And when I was shocked because it was like a short time. And even the same with like snacks, it seemed like a short time that I'm like, man, you
yeah,
guys like picked it up and just like learned it, and now, you do have some years now under your belt. um, how has scale model building shaped your life, regarding to the way you do things in a daily basis, from like work to, outings with the family or just doing things around the house, whether it's fixing something or even just cleaning, organizing, like how has that impacted everything you do in your life?
so impact on a daily basis. I guess it helps with keeping your mindset in a more positive sort of happy place. So that helps wherever you are. Helps at work or at home, and yeah, it's definitely a more of a relaxing sort of hobby. You can keep you cool and calm. But anything else, yeah, I can't really pinpoint how it's helped me any other way apart from just keeping me in a more positive sort of mood. Um, it's been 6.5 years now since I picked up my first model kit. And in 6.5, I mean, I hit my 100th car build earlier this year. So in just over 6 years, I built 100 cars. It's quite excessive, I know, but I enjoy it, and it's a great sort of place for me. It means a lot to me as well because I don't know how many people know this, but it did actually save my relationship. I'm open. I'm honest. I was addicted to a video game, beyond addicted, and it was affecting home life, and it was an awful place. Um, I was a lot of shouting, swearing at night when the wife and child were trying to sleep or whatever else, but shouting at these games. And one day, rightly so, I don't blame her. The wife said, this video game has to stop, or we're going. And that's where stop the video games. And I come across my first model kit in the shop. I saw this model kit. It was only £10. I thought I'd pick it up. It was at Christmas. I had 2 weeks off work at Christmas, and I thought, I picked this model kit up, and I couldn't believe how amazing it was. I didn't know there was such a thing as model car kits. I've seen the tanks, I've seen the planes, I built a couple of planes as a kid. I think most kids in the UK will build a model plane or two, or a model tank or two as as kids because they're so cheap, easy to get hold of. But in all my years, I've never known those model car kits, and I couldn't believe it as a bit of a car nut. So yeah, I got my first model car kit, and then here I am 6.5 years later, absolutely enjoying the hobby, like it's my first build still.
Damn, dude, that's a trip because like I'm like as you're explaining this, I'm imagining this, right? I'm imagining you like going to the store and picking up that first kit, and just like it's like I could see you standing there like holding it, like staring at it, making that purchase and everything and just like bringing it home and it's like that moment like when you're unboxing this kit, opening it up right there and then you didn't know yet what you were going to be unboxing, unlocking for the future, and from that point, from that first build, how long later or how much time had passed until you started to discover that there was a community or just people out there online posting stuff?
So my first car, it took me about 2 weeks. 2 weeks. It was a little starter kit. I've actually got it here. I wanted just to show that this was my first car. Every so often I bring it out and I like to compare it to, sort of more, you know, recent builds to see the difference in quality. But as soon as I finished that, I was straight onto Amazon because I didn't know where the local model shop was. I didn't really know anyone else personally who built models, so I didn't know where to look. And obviously, the first thing you think of is Amazon. So I picked up my first because this is actually that's a 132 scale, and then I picked up my first 124 straight afterwards. And then I started looking into it was I think it was YouTube first. So I was trying to find how-to videos, and I come across this channel. It was a build series of a Subaru Impreza, the Tamiya 99 Subaru Impreza kit, and it was from start to finish of all these tips and tricks and techniques. And then from there, I come across Reddit. I'm not sure how, but I come across Reddit, and there's a model car subreddit. And so I was posting on there, and then I think it was maybe a year or two afterwards, my best friend and we were saying to me, he says, "Why don't you start posting your cars on Instagram?" And I just had this preconception of Instagram just being influencers on boats or fast cars. I didn't think there was a place for a model car community. I just I didn't really know much. But I joined Instagram because he was like, "I'll do it. It'll be cool." And the wife was like, "Try it." And I joined Instagram and I could not believe the size of the community. And in the years of what has it been, 4 years, maybe 5 years I've been on here, and it has grown and grown, and it's just a huge, huge community. Yeah, so it's been amazing. So if anyone who's watching this on YouTube doesn't have Instagram and looking for an awesome, huge car community, yeah, Instagram, it's massive.
Damn, that's crazy, man. That's cool. Shout out to your homie for telling you, to do it. That's dope, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, if not, you would have been underground. You would have been like, man, I'm not gonna be on Instagram. I'm just gonna build for myself and like keep these models here. Man, that's so
yeah.
crazy, dude. Like so much time. You have a lot of history right there. I mean, it's a story right there with what you've been doing. How old is your son now?
At 9, he turned 9 a few months ago.
Oh,
Um,
nice. And has he piqued any interest in him, like to want to collab or like build or anything like that with you?
Yeah, so over the years, funnily enough, actually, yeah. So with the Aoshima Ambassador program, obviously that left a little bit of a window open. And in the past few years, they've actually sent 4 of their snap kits and for my boy, and he's built them. He doesn't build them all at once, and he might only build in like 1.5 hour segment there. It might be a few weeks until he picks it up again, but he does show that little bit of an interest. So, and then every time I finish a build and put it on a display shelf, he'll go and have a look and he'll say, "Oh, Dad, that looks really cool. We really like it." And he'll just stand there for a minute, just looking at all the cars. He loves cars. He's got a massive tub. It's got about 400 Hot Wheels in it. So, he's definitely an interest. But yeah, I'd like to get him into the hobby like I do. but how I build, but I'm not going to force it. I don't want him to not enjoy it. I'm just going to go at his pace. If he don't want to do anything, that's fine. If he does, I'm going to jump on that. If it's only for 10, 20 minutes, that's still 10, 20 minutes. So yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's pretty cool. When you get your opportunity to build, is it are you doing it like while everyone's home, or is it when like everyone's asleep? Like when's your window of opportunity when you have your own time to work on these builds?
So I'm pretty much free, to be honest. Most evenings, if I've got the motivation and the energy, I can just nip off into the hobby room. I can just do a bit of work. Might be a half an hour, might be 2 hours. Um, on a Saturday, I get a few hours here and there, or most of the time I'm spending Saturday with the family. Sunday, I get a lot of time done on a Sunday. I could spend all day in there if I wanted to, apart from obviously having to come out and cook food for the family. But yeah, Sundays is I could literally from the minute I wake up to the minute I go to sleep, I could be in there. So I get quite a lot of time, and I've always, the wife has been so supportive. She really has, and she's fully on board, and she doesn't mind, because I'm only upstairs in the hobby room. It's not like I'm out and about. I'm not causing trouble. I'm not down at the, drinking or clubbing. Just upstairs painting. Yeah, she's really supportive. Really supportive.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah, th thank you to her too, supporting you. And it must be nice though, especially for them and even like your son knowing that you're home, If they need you for anything, you're there. It's a trip because I feel like I'm starting to kind of step into those somewhat stages. My daughter is already going to be 5 next month, and she's starting to be more independent. She's starting to be more like let me do my thing. She's coloring, drawing. She wants to play with toys like by herself. Normally, before she'd be like, "Come play with me," or "Will you play with me?" kind of deal. But now she's starting
Yeah,
to kind of want to do these things by herself. And I mean, I'm still there. I'm trying to like, I walk into the room like, "Do you need me?" And she's like, "Nope." And I'm like, "Dang,"
yeah,
So
yeah,
now I'm getting to those like times where I'm so used to, like doing a bunch of stuff or like, what do you need? What do And now it's almost like, to my wife, you need anything? Nope. And I'm like, all right, so I'm gonna go in the garage, right? Yeah, yeah, for sure.
yeah,
And then I'm like, man, this feels different. Like, I'm not used to this, But I feel like little by little later, I'm gonna like have a lot more time. So lately, I've just been kind of going hard at, going doing the live streams at night, working on the Corvair, because I'm like, all right, well, they're asleep, I got this time. Let's do it now. But eventually that'll change. I'll probably end up doing it earlier on in the day instead of so late at night.
yeah. I've been catching up with it. It's been nice to see you back on the map, back to see you working so since you moved. I've been catching up with your videos. I can't watch them because obviously I'm at work, but I've got my earpiece in and I'm listening along, and it's some of the information and just chatting along, and yeah. I've been slowly catching up with some of your videos. Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's great to see working away and you're back at it, and yeah, it's been awesome. And how is settling in into the new house, and everyone all right, and just
Yeah, yeah, everything's cool. I feel like like it was tiring, moving like at first I feel like it's all the adrenaline. You're excited. Let's move everything. You want to move a whole house, everything, or an apartment to a house like in a day. And then you still want to set up. And even after moving in, like days later, I started to feel very, very tired. Like it started to really hit me. Uh, but I really wanted to set everything up already. Uh, but I feel like once we were already all settled in and everything good to go, I feel like I started to notice it on my daughter. I think she started to take it a little hard. She was kind of just missing the old place because that's pretty much where she grew up. That's all she knew.
yeah, yeah.
And so it was hard for her, but now she really likes this place now. Like she really is admiring it. She has a lot more space, freedom, backyard to play and all this stuff. And as a little girl, she's enjoying, you know, finding little insects, seeing like birds, like anything that comes through to the backyard. she's getting a kick out of all that. And you know, that's like those are like our moments where we get to play and like hang out right there outside. But yeah, she's definitely like enjoying it right now. And I mean, I'm just happy to be able to have the space, be able to have the room to also have like product, to be able to store it, package it, you know, because before it was like pretty hard. Like I had one thing here, one thing there, and I was just running around, pulling things from different areas to pack an order, and it started to get pretty tiring after a while. I didn't want to stop, but I was just like, man, this is now I have the space to be more organized and to be like, all these kits are here by brand, all the paints are here by brand, you know, by type or whatever. And the same with the detail parts that it just makes it a lot easier, a lot more productive, and just like kind of just space everything out, you know. And I just love it. I love it right now. I'm really enjoying it.
It's been nice seeing your reels because on some of your reels you've been showing like these are the orders going out, and you've got all the orders laid out, loads of orders laid out, and then you've got all your packing tape all organised and everything else, and it's so cool to see you've got that space alongside your hobby space, and you know what yeah, it looks like you've really got yourself a nice place to be in.
Yeah, no, yeah, I love it, man. No, thank you. Yeah, and it's gonna change. It's gonna evolve over time. Right now, I'm just currently like setting up, working with what I have, you know, because I did take a break for a while, not recording, not doing anything, you know, after my daughter was born and just raising her. And even now, I feel like I'm still trying to do my thing, but using old technology. Like I'm still using like an old mic, you know, old cameras, old everything. I mean, not that it's too old, but by now there's just so much new technology that I need to jump
Yeah,
on
yeah,
that, you know, like, and that's kind of where it's headed right now. But it's just like trying to balance everything out, you know. That's what it just, you know, little by little, you know, it'll come through. I don't
yeah,
want to force it too much where it's like I'm overstressed and I'm just like, you know what, I might have to take a break.
yeah,
You know, nah, nah, nah. I want to keep it
yeah,
moving, but little by little, little bits will start to come together. But hey, Chris,
yeah.
you know, we're coming close to that time. You know, before we wrap up this episode, because
Oh,
I know you know
yeah.
you gotta do your thing. Any shout outs that you want to give out to, you know, I'll let you do your thing.
Shout out, yeah. There's so the guys at work. I've started a new workplace just over 3 months ago, and they've been super cool. It's a car place. There's a lot of people, you know, interested in cars and stuff, and they've been ace. They've been, you know, showing an interest in my builds, and they've been watching my YouTube channel. A few of them are going to be watching this at some point. So yeah, guys at work, thank you very much. I've even got my first commission build from work from one of the guys, Lee. It's actually this one here. Yeah, I've got this is my first commission build, so a massive thank you to Lee for that. So yeah, the guys were at the race, and then just the guys in the model community. You know, it's we've actually got there's me and two other guys, Gaz and Dave. We've been speaking about it for quite a while. I was going to do a buddy build with this Impala, and then Gaz mentioned yesterday, obviously in memoriam of Mike, why don't we look at entering, you know, the Mike build off the tribute build. That's such a cool idea. So you know, rest in peace to Mike for sure. Such a loss, absolutely. So yeah, we'll be doing our little bit, joining in memoriam of Mike. Yeah, just you know, all the guys, you know, are super cool. People that help me out and help others out, just the community, just everyone, and all you guys at home watching. You know, thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Right on, man. No, no, thank you. You know, thank you for taking the time, being a guest on the show. And I hope that you do post some photographs later in the future with that Audi build, that Quattro. That that would be pretty dope.
Yeah, so I was gonna do it on I was gonna do it on the side, but he said no, he wants it all on YouTube. He wants it all documented so we can see and watch it.
Oh, sick, sick. Yeah, that's gonna be fun right there, man. No, well, awesome. Yeah, and also, you know, rest in peace to Mike as well. That was Mike, Model Works on Instagram, right there. You know, well, I did see that there's the tribute build page set up. So, you know, I'll do what I can to share, you know, in the stories and everything, the everything that's coming out of that page right there for Mike. So thank
Sure.
you
Oh,
everybody.
sorry. There's one more
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
So I
go
do
for it.
apologise. So this is for Casey, actually. So this is obviously a 124 Skyline. This is obviously the one on the image, the Bayside Blue. I can't believe I built over 30 Skylines, and it's the first time I've used Bayside Blue. I absolutely love it, and I think that Scale Rider sets it off perfectly on the window. So I was talking to Casey about a project I'll be doing in the next few months, and it's the 112 scale Skyline, and so that's the shell. That's that's a 124. So yeah, Casey, that's the difference. That is quite the size. So yeah,
Man, that's
there's
crazy,
one
bro.
last little
That's
thing.
big. That's huge right there.
Yeah, it's I can't the box is just massive. I couldn't get the box in. I decided to just get the body shell. So yeah, that's coming in the next few months. It's my first 112. I'm going to find it quite scary because it's quite a big job. So but yeah,
Damn, right on, Chris. Awesome, man. Well, hey, man, I'll let you go. This was fun. We'll do it again. We'll have to do it, in the future, and we're gonna go more than an hour next time. All right, on the
yeah.
podcast. But
It's
I
only because I've got
totally
work. I've got to go
understand.
to work and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
No, it's all good. And also, just thank you to everybody that participated in the chat room. And also, even if you didn't, you tuned in, you watched it. The episode will be up later today and tomorrow, for future viewing and listening. So, all right, guys, this is 65 Lokes checking out. And thank you.
thanks guys. Thanks Edgar. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Give it to Chris. We'll see you again. We'll do it again, man. All right. Peace out. All right, later.